The deal on a distant mining planet called Tharnis 5. Trade didn't always happen with credits. Sometimes, especially in the outer zones, payment came in strange forms: tools, minerals, or even living beings. Darren, a human cargo pilot, wasn't new to that. He flew supply runs for remote colonies, never asking too many questions. But today was different. He had just delivered a shipment of medical packs and power cells to a small outpost near the edge of the neutral zone. The local trader, a squat, green-skinned creature named Brule, couldn't pay the full amount. "Short on credits," Brule grumbled, scratching the horns on his head. "But I offer something valuable." Darren sighed. "I'm not interested in junk." Brule waved a hand and two guards brought a figure forward. It was a girl, young, thin, with strange markings on her pale blue skin. Her clothes were torn, and a metal collar rested around her neck. She didn't look scared, just quiet. Calm. She is healthy, obedient, can clean, cook, maybe more. Brule said with a smirk. Better than nothing. Darren frowned. He didn't like the idea. Taking someone as payment felt wrong. But the mission had cost him fuel, time, and risk, and turning down the deal meant he'd leave with nothing. After a moment, he nodded. "Fine. But if she causes trouble, I'll bring her back." Brule laughed. "She won't. She knows her place." The girl didn't speak as she followed Darren to his ship. Her movements were graceful, and she looked around the cargo bay with quiet interest. Darren noticed her hands, delicate, but not worn. She didn't seem like someone used to hard work. "What's your name?" he asked, locking in coordinates for liftoff. She hesitated. "Lyra." "All right, Lyra. Just stay out of the way. I don't need problems." She nodded, sitting in a quiet corner. As the ship lifted off, Darren couldn't shake the strange feeling in his chest. He wasn't sure what he had just accepted, but something told him this girl was not what she seemed. Later that night, as the ship cruised through deep space, Darren watched Lyra through the small glass window of the crew area. She was staring at the stars almost as if she missed them. Who was she really? Why was she so calm? And what secrets did she carry behind those silver eyes? He didn't know yet, but he was about to find out. Strange signs. The ship, Hawklight, sailed through empty space, quiet except for the soft hum of its engines. Darren sat at the control panel, reviewing his next route. Behind him, Lyra silently cleaned the galley, moving carefully like someone who didn't want to be noticed. But Darren had noticed. She was too calm, too precise. She handled tools and devices like she had seen them before, even if she pretended not to understand. She moved like someone trained in something more than just house chores. The collar on her neck made her look like a servant, but her posture, it was more like a noble. That night, Darren left the cockpit quietly and walked toward the crew quarters. He saw Lyra standing in front of the window again, her hands pressed against the glass, stars reflected in her eyes, and for a moment she looked like she belonged out there among them. "You okay?" Darren asked. She turned her head. "Yes." "You've done this before, haven't you? Been on ships like this?" Lyra hesitated. "Once. Long ago." He stepped closer. "You don't talk much." "I was taught not to." Darren narrowed his eyes. "Taught by who?" Lyra didn't answer. She returned her gaze to the stars, her expression distant. "May I ask a question?" she said softly. "Sure. Why did you accept me?" He didn't know what to say. "Because I needed to get paid." She nodded, but Darren could see something behind her calm face. Disappointment, maybe, or sadness. "Look, I'm not going to hurt you. You're not a prisoner here," he said. Lyra looked at him. "Then why is this still around my neck?" Darren paused. He hadn't thought about it. "I'll take it off." He went to the storage drawer, grabbed a small tool, and returned to her. She didn't flinch as he worked on the collar, and within seconds it fell to the floor with a soft clink. Lyra reached up and touched her neck. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're free now. You can do what you want." Lyra smiled faintly, but there was something unreadable in her eyes. Freedom is complicated. As she walked away, Darren picked up the collar. It looked ordinary, until he saw the tiny royal crest engraved on the inside. His hand froze. That symbol, it belonged to the House of Veltrix, a royal bloodline from the Andarian Empire, one of the most powerful alien families in this part of the galaxy. Darren stared at the door Lyra had disappeared behind. What had he just brought aboard his ship? And why was a princess being traded like a servant? Hidden past Darren couldn't sleep that night. The symbol on the collar still burned in his memory, the royal crest of House Veltrix. That family wasn't just powerful, they were feared. Nobles, generals, and rulers all came from that bloodline. If Lyra was truly one of them, then she wasn't just a runaway. She was valuable, maybe even hunted. He tapped a few keys on his console and pulled up his ship's logs, checking the trade record. Brule had marked her simply as non-essential property, human-compatible labor. Nothing more. How could a royal end up as a slave? The next morning, Darren found Lyra in the engine room inspecting the controls. She wasn't touching anything, just watching. Still, her eyes followed every flicker, every shift in the readings. "You've done this before," he said, crossing his arms. She turned. "I learn quickly." "No, you already know how these systems work." Lyra said nothing. "Tell me the truth," he continued. "Who are you really?" There was a long pause. Then she answered softly. "I am Lyra of House Veltrix, daughter of Marek IV, grandchild of Queen Yelna." Darren blinked. That was no minor noble line. That was the direct royal family of the Andarian Empire. "You're a princess." "I was," she said, her voice steady. "Until the Empire fell." "What do you mean?" She sat down on a metal crate. "A rebellion started on my home world. Our palace was attacked. My family scattered. Some were captured, some killed. I escaped with help, but I was betrayed." Darren leaned against the wall, trying to process what she was saying. "They sold me. To silence me. To erase my name. And now you're here," he said slowly. "As payment for a crate of power cells." Lyra nodded. "It is a long fall from the stars." Darren rubbed his face. "Do you have any idea how much danger you're in? If the rebellion finds out you're alive, they will try to finish what they started." She finished for him. There was silence between them. Then Darren said, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Would you have believed me?" He didn't answer. Maybe not. But now that he knew, everything was different. Lyra stood. "I will not be a burden. Drop me off at the next port. I can disappear." But Darren shook his head. "That's not happening. You're safer here, with me." She looked at him, surprised. "Why?" "Because I don't sell people, I don't abandon them either." For the first time, Lyra smiled. A real smile. It was small, but it meant something. In that moment, Darren knew. His life had just changed forever. He wasn't just hauling cargo anymore. He was carrying a secret that could shake an empire. Shadows. In orbit 2 days passed, and the ship drifted near the edge of known space. Darren had plotted a new course, one that avoided major stations and patrol zones. He wasn't a hero, but he wasn't about to let some greedy rebels snatch a girl who barely escaped with her life. Lyra kept mostly to herself. She spent her time learning the ship, asking questions when needed but never begging for sympathy. She was quiet but strong, stronger than most trained fighters Darren had seen. Still, Darren knew hiding forever wasn't an option. He needed fuel. And food. And soon, answers. As they approached a small moon station named Raven's Rest, Darren powered down long-range signals. It was a black market outpost, no security, no records. The perfect place to disappear for a while, or so he thought. They landed without trouble. Lyra stayed on board while Darren went out to trade. He swapped scrap parts for food, patched the ship, and asked around carefully. He didn't use Lyra's name, just hinted he was looking for information about a noble family that disappeared. An old merchant leaned closer when Darren mentioned House Veltrix. They say the last daughter vanished. Empire says she's dead, the man whispered. But I heard a bounty was posted on her, quietly, alive or dead. How much? Darren asked. Enough to retire forever. Darren's gut clenched. He walked fast back to his ship. But before he reached it, a tall alien figure blocked his way. Sharp armor, glowing red eyes, and a badge of the Andarian Reclaimers, the same rebel faction that attacked the royal palace. You travel with someone, the alien said. Blue skin, silver eyes. Darren didn't blink. You've got the wrong guy. I don't think so. Before Darren could move, the alien raised a scanner. The device beeped and Darren reacted. He slammed his elbow into the alien's wrist, grabbed the scanner and smashed it on the ground. Alarms started to echo through the corridor. Darren ran. Inside the ship, Lyra was already near the cockpit. She had seen the alert flash on the wall. They're here? She asked. Yes, Darren said, firing up the engines. They know, or at least they suspect. The ship roared to life. Blaster fire struck the hull as the Reclaimers opened fire from the platform. Darren twisted the controls, lifting them into the air in a tight arc. Hang on. The Hawklight shot through the station's outer shield and blasted into space, trailing sparks. Lyra gripped the seat. They won't stop now. Darren nodded. Then we don't stop either. For the first time, Lyra looked afraid, not for herself, but for what might happen because of her, and Darren realized something. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. He was standing between her and a war. The royal message. The stars blurred into lines as the Hawklight jumped into faster-than-light travel. Darren had set a course deep into the free zone, a wild, lawless region of space where no empire or rebellion dared to fully control. It was risky, but so was every other option. Lyra sat across from him in the cockpit, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. They'll follow us, she said quietly. They'll try, Darren replied, adjusting the power to the jump core. But this zone scrambles tracking systems. Will vanish for a while. Lyra didn't look comforted. I can't hide forever. You don't have to, Darren said. But if you want to live long enough to choose your next move, we need time. Lyra was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. There's something I haven't told you. Darren glanced at her. What is it? She reached into the small pouch she always kept close. From it, she pulled out a thin silver shard no bigger than a coin. It glowed softly in her hand. This is a royal seal, she said. It holds a message, one meant only for loyal commanders of the Empire. Darren frowned. You've had that the whole time? Yes. I kept it hidden. If the wrong hands found it, it could be used to start a war. Or worse. She placed the shard on the console. I want you to see what's inside. Darren nodded. He connected the shard to the ship's translator interface. The console flickered, then projected a blue hologram of a tall man with glowing silver robes. By the order of House Veltrix, the figure said, this message is for surviving captains of the royal fleet. If you receive this, the Empire has fallen. My daughter Lyra may be the last of our line. Protect her, guide her, and if the stars still burn with hope, help her rebuild what was lost. The hologram faded. Lyra didn't speak. Darren stared at her. So the rumors were true. You really are the last. She nodded once. That message activates a beacon. If I send it, others may come. Darren leaned back in his chair. Others, loyal to your family? Yes. But it could also draw enemies. The Reclaimers, bounty hunters, and spies. Anyone listening for a chance to finish the job. Darren stood and paced the small cockpit. You want to send it? I want to stop. Running, she said. I want to stop hiding behind silence and fear. Darren looked at her. Then we'll send it. But not from here. We find a safe zone, a place where we can control the signal and fight back if needed. She smiled faintly. You'd risk your life for that? I already did, he said with a shrug. Might as well finish what we started. Lyra picked up the shard and held it tight. Far beyond them, in the dark corners of space, others were listening, and soon everyone would know. The princess was alive. The beacon is lit. Darren brought the Hawklight into orbit around an old mining asteroid called Delta 12, abandoned for years but still holding a functional comm relay. It was hidden, off-grid, and perfect for what they needed. A quiet place to send the message without alerting half the galaxy right away. Inside the control room, the equipment buzzed to life. Dust fell from the ceiling as the systems booted up. After years of silence, Lyra stood in front of the main console, the silver shard glowing faintly in her hand. This is it, she said. You sure about this? Darren asked. She looked at him, her voice steady. If there's anyone still loyal to my house, they deserve to know I'm alive. And if enemies come, I'll face them standing, not hiding. Darren gave a small nod. All right, let's light up the stars. Lyra inserted the shard into the transmitter. A pulse of blue light swept through the chamber. The hologram of her father appeared once more, this time accompanied by encrypted codes and signatures. The console hummed as the message prepared for release. Darren set the coordinates for the signal spread. Limited radius, encrypted to royal frequencies. 3 seconds, he said. Send it, Lyra whispered. The signal burst through the void of space like a spark in dry grass. And the universe noticed. Far away, in the shadows of forgotten systems, old loyalists stirred from hiding. Exiled commanders blinked at their displays in shock. Mercenaries, spies, and enemies of the old empire perked up their ears. The lost princess had called, but not everyone who heard it was a friend. Within an hour, a red light blinked on Darren's console. Incoming ship, he said. Fast. No, comms. No ID. Lyra's breath caught. How did they get here so fast? Darren scanned again. It's not just one. 3 blips appeared on the screen, then 5, then 7. They followed the signal, he said. They were waiting. Lyra stepped back from the console, her calm starting to crack. We need to run. Darren gritted his teeth. No, we hold them here. We find out who they are, and if they're enemies. He pulled a blaster from the wall and tossed another, to Lyra. We remind them humans don't back down easy. Lyra caught the weapon. She looked different now, not a lost girl, not just a hidden princess. She looked like someone ready to fight for her place. The first ship broke into the asteroids. Orbit. Darren raised his weapon. Showtime. Rise of the princess. The asteroid trembled as the enemy ships landed hard. Dust and rock shook from the walls of the old mining base. Darren stood by the sealed main entrance, weapon ready. Lyra was beside him, her hands steady on the blaster. She didn't flinch, she didn't speak. She was ready. The scanner showed 8 life forms outside. Heavy armor, military formation. They're not here to talk, Darren muttered. The outer door blew open. Smoke poured in, and the first intruder stepped through. Tall, armored in black with red markings on his helmet. A commander of the Andarian Reclaimers. Stand. Down, he barked. Hand over the girl. Darren stepped forward. She has a name, and she's not going anywhere. The commander raised a weapon. You're outnumbered, human. But before he could fire, Lyra stepped into view. I am Lyra of House Veltrix, she said loudly. Daughter of Marek, grandchild of Queen Yelna, and if you take one more step, you declare war on what's left of the true empire. The commander hesitated. Behind him, 2 soldiers looked at each other. They hadn't expected her to stand tall. To fight. Lyra continued. You fear my bloodline. That's why you hunted me. But I'm not hiding anymore, and if you want to finish what you started, come do it face to face. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the commander growled, You should have stayed in the shadows. He raised his rifle, but Darren fired first. A bolt hit the weapon clean from the commander's hand. In a flash, Lyra fired too, hitting one soldier in the leg. Chaos broke out. Lasers screamed across the room. The old mining base lit up with fire and smoke. Darren rolled behind cover, blasting another attacker. Lyra moved like she'd trained for this, ducking low, aiming true. One enemy fell, then another. The rest hesitated, confused, afraid. Then a new sound filled the air, a deep engine roar. A second ship descended outside. But this one didn't belong to the enemy. It was sleek, silver, marked with the true crest of House Veltrix. A voice echoed over the station's speaker. By order of the Royal Fleet, stand down. Reinforcements have arrived. The remaining rebels froze and retreated. Lyra stood in silence as armored figures stepped into the base, these ones bearing the old Empire's blue and silver uniforms. Their leader bowed before her. My lady, we received your signal. We are yours to command. Lyra didn't speak at first, then she nodded. Prepare a secure ship. We have work to do. She turned to Darren, eyes filled with something powerful, no longer fear, but purpose. You came here as a traitor, she said, but you saved a crown. Darren smiled. Didn't plan to. She looked out the window at the stars. Then let's plan something bigger.